Welcome to episode number 104 of the BEBC
BS
Podcast.
Did you look at the board?
I was just making sure. These numbers are getting big, and I'm a numbers guy, but I just want to make sure because someone will call you out if you say the wrong thing these
Always
days.
excited.
No.
We got past 10.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, come
I
on.
remember when we first he came up with this idea.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Really?
How bad was it? Go back and listen to podcast 5 or 6.
We ought to
Well,
do
seeing
that.
where we started from, 5 listeners to now we've got probably 104.
Yeah.
No, we've gone up to 10.
Sweet.
Well, we know this. Our podcast plays in DeSoto. We do know that.
Yeah.
We learned.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, this is one of my favorite podcasts of the year. It really is. We
Yeah.
are honored again today to have Kris Kumnock in the house, in the hot seat. Coach Wig was there last week, and now you come back as the executive director of the Landry, and as Kris said last year, he's now the CEO of, Wipeout Kids Cancer. And that's been a great work. I've been following you doing that, and so we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
I don't know where we want to start, other than let's go ahead and get the Landry out of the way, because you've got a really cool slate this year. I think when I look at the 2 games you have scheduled, it's one of the better schedules you've had in the last couple of years at least. So,
Yeah, no, I think so. 2 of the biggest brands in the state on Friday night, obviously DeSoto, defending state champion, got over the hump last year and playing Allen, and that's obviously huge. And then College Station and Lovejoy, I think, are both top 8 ranked in the state. And College Station came in last year, and their running back, who was the defending offensive player of the year from his junior year, blew out his knee on Thursday before the Landry Classic. So they were kind of reeling from that. They were kind of in shock mode and didn't come in and play very well. They brought this sophomore quarterback off the bench second half. He kind of lit it up, but all they did was go back to the state championship game. They really put it together, and the quarterback obviously is back. They've got a 6'6" receiver who is a stud. I mean, that kid was a basketball kid, and he is incredible. The sophomore running back that came in and took over last year, ran for, I think, 1,400 yards. So they're going to be really good. Lovejoy's loaded, so that game's going to be great as well. So yeah, looking forward to this year.
we are too. Last year when you had Bosco come in, everybody was sort of, why are we playing out of state school? We talked about that in private school and went through all that. And, the game itself turned into a blowout when it kind of everybody would have expected. You're playing that quality of the team. And, of course, Coach Wig hadn't been here but a couple months, everything that was going on with Allen. And so when we had Wig here last week, I said, well, you're not backing down. You went from a Bosco to a state champion who's returning a whole bunch of people. And a lot of good ones. I was telling Alan yesterday that they've got a freshman wide receiver that is the number 1 ranked wide receiver for the class of 2027.
Yeah.
That's supposedly quarterback is the Dallas Morning News preseason offensive player of the year. They're going to be loaded. And Alan's going to have his hands full again.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give Lee a lot of credit. He does not back down from playing really, really good teams.
Yep.
And
he said he wanted to.
yeah, he did.
He wants to play the best.
He did. And there were some people here, several years ago who kind of didn't want to do that. They wanted to play teams that were a win.
Yeah.
And Lee's like, no, we're out. We'll play. We'll literally play anybody. Now he wants to play in-state teams.
Yeah.
And he wants to play. He doesn't want to play private school teams anymore. And we went through the whole litany last year of why Bosco and nobody Bosco recruits on an Ohio State level. I mean, they go out and get I made that statement last year, and their coach just lost his mind on me on that. And I'm like, well, you do. I mean, that kid's not from there. like, explain that. And he's like, well, you act like that's the only reason we win. I'm like,
Well, it
it's a pretty big reason.
Yeah.
Pretty big reason why we win, but okay.
It's a lot easier as a coach when you have extreme talent. Now, it's not the only reason, like you said, because that's been the thing about Allen for years. You got so many kids, you're always going to win. Well, no, there's a lot more to it, and I think the last couple of years have been a great example of that. And so I understand his point, but it is a whole lot easier when you are the Ohio State or the Alabama.
Right.
You know, it's a lot easier to coach 4 and 5 stars than it is a bunch of 2 and 3 stars.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, Bosco had, I think, 8 kids that didn't start for them last year, but still received Division I scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start, and I mean that's the most loaded high school team I've ever seen. I mean, they would have destroyed, I think, anybody, you know, in Texas last year that they played, Allen or anybody.
When they
else.
already had a game under their belt
They did.
before they played us. Yeah,
Well,
so
and they can do things in pads in the
Right.
summer too.
Less
which
restrictions,
Makes
yeah.
it
Yeah.
really an uneven playing
I mean,
surface.
they can do, coaches are involved in everything,
Yeah.
too.
Right. So,
So we're sticking with Texas. We've got a little more
Sticking with
parity,
Texas.
and,
Yeah.
But that does make it a little more challenging
That's
for
John's
you
word of the year.
from a scheduling perspective. If Lee requests an in-state school plus a good in-state school, it makes that scheduling a little more challenging because, like you said, not everybody, not only there were people at Allen who didn't want it, you know, to try to find a coach who's willing to come to Allen.
Katie?
From that's a, you know, a high-profile school or nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
well, and you'd be surprised. There's some schools out there that you would think, okay, those guys will go play anybody, and you know they're a huge brand. They've got a great team. Not everybody will play everybody. You know, I look back to you try not to get in the good old days syndrome, but when I first started this,
Oh, we did.
we have no restrictions on that.
yeah. But you know, I'd call Joey McGuire at Cedar Hill and start the conversation of, "Hey, I'm thinking about you guys playing." He'd like, "I don't care. We'll play the Steelers, whatever. We just want to be in the Landry Classic. I don't care who we play."
Right.
And he literally didn't. Jeff Jordan over at Garland was just like, "I don't care. You know, whoever, whatever, we'll play him." Randy Allen, Allen Park. He's like, you know, doesn't matter to me. And you love that. You love that
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's a week 1 game, and it's going to tell you a lot, and it's great for fans. At the end of the day, all you're doing is finding out what you have at this point.
Yep.
And I just don't understand coaches who don't want to be competitive and they talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. And there's a lot of coaches that I'll call and say, you know, love for you to be in the Landry Classic. Oh yeah, I'd love to do it. Who do we play? Allen. You got to go there twice? Yeah. No, I don't want to do it. But if you got somebody Saturday night for us to play, and I'll give you a list of teams, like, okay, I'm not doing that. We're not going to do that. So, anyway, I mean, that's, again, kudos to Lee for not having any restrictions other than, you know, I don't want to play out-of-state teams. I don't want to play private school teams. And, you know, Lee's in a position with the Texas High School Coaches Association being, you know, where he is with that. You know, that's their directive to coaches all over the state is don't play teams from out of state and don't play private school teams. Well, if Lee's out there doing it, and they're like, okay, well, you're saying it, but you're not doing it. So he was in a bad
sounds
spot.
familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah. I want to dig into that a little further because it just struck me. I understand the private school thing because of the quote-unquote recruiting process to keep people. What's the drawback against playing a strong out-of-state school? For example, when Hoover came here, I mean, that was great.
Uh-huh.
That was a great experience for anybody who loves high school football. It was a great experience for the Hoover kids and their families.
Dutch Ford?
Dutch Fort, you know,
Yeah.
there were great games and they were well attended, and the people in Allen loved it because, okay, Texas high school football got put on the map. So
Sure.
what is the drawback, since you've talked to these coaches and that, why would they not want to do an out-of-state school?
Well, I think from the leadership, you know, Joe Martin and his, you know, they are concerned, and they understand. Joe's a great guy, smart guy. He's the guy that should be leading the Texas High School Coaches Association. and whoever's next, they will take a step down. But Joe understands that not everybody is IMG,
Right.
but he also understands that when you start playing these out-of-state teams, there are potential recruiting things that are going to start to pop up, particularly because NIL is coming to high school, and it's coming here in Texas, and it'll be here before we know it. And it's already popping up in other states. And when that happens, it's going to be all bets off.
Yeah.
Because then I just think, for anybody out there to think that you could have a high school kid associated with your company, and therefore your company sells more of its product because of that association is just ludicrous. So the only thing this is about is somebody saying, well, I own my own company, and we do want that quarterback that plays over there, so I can offer his family $75,000 and put his name on, or his picture on our brochure, and legally bring him over here. And that's what's going to start happening when NIL gets here, and it's going to start happening from these out-of-state teams too. So I think what they're trying to do is just keep the borders closed. Now the fly in the ointment there is that works if everybody's willing to play everybody else.
Right.
When you have coaches that are scared to play people in week one, then you put teams in a bad spot. DeSoto doesn't have a week 2 game. Duncanville doesn't have a week 2 game. And because, you start making calls and people are like, nah, I don't want to play that early. That's going to give us a loss on our schedule, and we don't need that. And so, that's a problem. And that's why coaches still go against the Texas High School Coaches Association and schedule out-of-state games. Because it's like, what do you want me to do? I can't find anybody that'll play us. And it makes it doubly hard with the Classic, because not only are you trying to find a team to play you, but you got to go to their home stadium 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And people are like, you nuts? I'm not doing that. And I think it becomes, even I've got some coaches that have said, look, I don't have a problem doing it. I'm not scared of playing Allen or anybody else. I'll play. But, man, my fans are going to be looking at me like, you don't know what you're doing. You agreed to go there 2 years in a row. So it's kind of trying to sell it to their fans, sometimes sell it to the superintendent or the athletic director. Joey Florence told me, hey, all of our coaches always loved being in it. And we had Denton Ryan and we had Denton Geyer. But Joey said, my superintendent looks at me like, why are we just letting a home gate go out the door every year? We're losing money. Why are you letting these teams go do it? And, they're not wrong. They're not wrong on that. You hope the draw of being in an event like this is strong enough. And so far, it has been, but it's not easy.
What part does it play? Because we're seeing a lot more districts get some really top-notch facilities, from stadiums, but also the indoor, full-length indoor, facilities and stuff like that. Do you think that plays into people not, look, we've got all these nice facilities. We need to play up at our place now because it's not a second-rate place.
100%.
And you'd have to come down to Allen.
Yeah, because they've got to justify, because when you build those stadiums, you have people, as you guys all know, you have people in that community, they're like, well, why aren't we building that stadium? Why didn't we hire 10 new teachers? Well, it's a different budget, but they don't understand it. And so it's like, we shouldn't have built that. Well, so you got that crowd you've got to appease. But then the other thing is when you build a stadium like that, you go sell corporate partnerships. And I do it for Allen Stadium.
Yep.
And so
Congratulations on your latest one, by the way.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
You'll see it in the stadium when you come
Yeah.
for the Tom Landry Classic. That's awesome.
we'll see. But then when people start putting corporate partners up there, those corporate partners are promised X amount of people on seeing their brand.
Yeah.
So it's hard when you do that. And the other thing is, it used to be a real draw for people to come play in Eagle Stadium in Allen because it's still the best stadium in the country, but it was brand new and
Yeah.
everybody'd seen things.
The first.
Well, yeah, it's the first, and now it's been there a while. So that's lost a a little bit of appeal because you start talking to teams like, yeah, we've played there before. We've already played there, and then they start building their own stadiums, which are not as nice, but they're still brand new. So they're like, yeah, we got a great stadium to play in too. So there's just a lot of things.
Crown Jewel.
Crown Jewel, baby.
Crown Jewel. So, but it's the best stadium out there, and that ain't gonna change for a long time, man.
Yep.
This thing's incredible, as you guys know.
Yeah,
New turf.
New turf.
New turf,
Yeah.
thank goodness.
We need a 100-yard indoor football stadium now.
That'll find its
In
way
due
here
time.
In due time. So what do you, when you look at this year, and again, the past couple of years, and let's just talk 6A, high school football. You know, it's been the Duncanville North Shore show.
Yeah.
And do you foresee any of that, at least in D1, do you foresee any of that changing?
NIL.
That was quick. Well, excluding that, I mean, just from a talent perspective, based upon,
Youngville's is loaded.
Yeah.
It's loaded with
But let's be honest,
players.
yeah.
it's a different world because of the opportunities to move.
Oh, in the open enrollment
Yeah.
district. Yeah, I mean, certainly that has something to do, but, and he just seems to reload down
Which
there
I'm
every
still
year.
trying to, how do you get away
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, they're
He wants to
really
say something there.
they're really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know who knocks them off, in this region. I don't know who knocks them off statewide. I mean, they should win it this year.
Yeah.
They really should. They should win it. You got the two that committed yesterday. Running back went to LSU. The pass rusher went to Texas. We've got an incredible wide receiver. He's going to be able to go anywhere he wants to go. And several linemen, both sides of the ball, and safety that's just unbelievable. And they're just loaded everywhere you look. And Cedar Hill being down a little bit right now really helps that.
Right.
Because those teams down there, they really compete for kids. And so yeah, I think 6A, that's for anybody to take. If somebody beats Duncanville this year in the playoffs, they should get maybe a couple of rings for that. 'Cause that's really
It's a 2-for-1 if you beat Duncanville. There
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, my God.
That's cool. Well, we talked about NIL last year because it was sort of just brand new. I mean, it's sort of been on the horizon, but then the deals really started coming in, and we want to talk about what your perspective is and what you've seen on how that has affected. There's so much going on in college football right now between the Pac-12 all of a sudden being gone, and the super conference is really stepping up and coming in. What's becoming of the Big 12 now, and
Big 8.
But specifically on NIL, how have you seen that really? Has that really made a big impact as you thought it would? Or
Yeah, I think so, because it's like the NCAA now has kind of thrown up their hands a little bit in terms of, because this thing, when they cobbled like 8 rules together the night before it happened on a napkin, because
8 rules.
they were like this for, the NCAA was the only one that didn't see it coming. We all knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. The NCAA just buried their head in the sand, and then they cobbled a few rules down, and one of those rules was that schools can't be involved in any part of the NIL. It's got to be a company to a player. Well, now, now schools are wholly involved in it.
Right.
And like if I were a college football coach, no one would cheat more than me. Like, I'm telling you, we would win so many national championships because I would cheat night and day. Because the NCAA is not doing anything about it. And you can say, well, but that, whatever. I'm about winning national championships. So, Nick Saban's got a deal in Alabama that I'm the biggest Nick Saban guy in the world. But he's saying we will not pay more than X, and everybody in the locker room gets X. And if you can go out and earn more than that on your own, Bryce Young, you can go out and add $1 million to that. God bless you. That's good. Well, I'm like, well, why can't X be X? Why?
Yeah.
Why can't we raise it from $30,000 a year to $100,000 a year if you can go get it? Like, I would do that. I'm just telling you. But because the NCAA is not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
They'll punish like Iowa State. They ain't punishing Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson or Georgia or A&M or Texas. They're not any of those blue blood brands. They're not doing anything about it. So now it's like
A&M Blue Blood?
well, A&M thinks they're blue blood. Look, I hate A&M. I'm just telling you.
I do
But,
too. You're not alone in that rowboat.
But I mean, they're paying a lot of money down there.
Yeah.
All those kids are transferring out.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, but see, that's going to be the fun thing to watch now. Is everybody saying, well, can Congress save college football from the NIL? Congress,
Those guys can't do anything.
they can't get out of bed
anything
right
right.
now. So, but what I think's gonna level this a little bit is what happened down at A&M. Paid all these players. They get down there and they're like, I mean, look.
Is that all there is?
Well, and I think so.
Dixie Chicken.
I think to thrive down there, it's cultish. And if that's your thing, there's a lot of people that think that is the holy ground, and that's great for them.
Yeah.
That ring and all that's great. But there's a lot of people that go down there and go, I'm not digging this place. So you pay all these players, they get down there, they made, they had 9 defensive linemen that told you're our guy. You're going to come here and start as a freshman. You're making a ton of money.
That seems to be A&M's thing. They
Yeah.
You're our guy.
It's
You're
like,
our guy.
so we're going to play 9 defensive linemen, 2 back. And then kids get down there, they don't play, they don't like it, but they got a bunch of money because A&M went to boosters and said, hey, we need you to pony up $350,000. We need you to pony up $300,000.
I mean,
And then-
A&M pays Jimbo Fisher this amount of money. Kevin Sumlin still has a better record than he does.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guys that you guys just paid, they left.
Yeah.
And now Jimbo comes back to you and goes, hey, I need another 3. And you're like, no, because I gave that guy, and he's not even here anymore.
Yep.
And we won 5 games. We didn't qualify for a bowl game. So I think that's going to start to, you can only go to the well so many times. If you're winning, guys will pony up money.
Yeah.
But you got to be winning like at a college football playoff
Well,
level.
not only winning, but keeping your players.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're pony, like you say, pony up money for kids that are leaving, whether you're winning or not.
Right.
But
Well, if
people-
I'm ponying up the money, I want to put some kind of restrictions in there that say, okay, you get X amount to begin with, and then you got to meet, attendance, stay enrolled, all that stuff. I'm going to put conditions on my money.
Yeah, some are.
Yeah.
Some kids won't sign if you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think all that's becoming something to watch because, but there are still players out there that have, and this is the key. If you have people around you, I mean, look, when I was 18, 17 years old, I didn't know anything either. I was stupid, and if you have good people around you, they can save you from stupid sometimes. And so when you sit down with the kid and say, okay, and I'll take the Alabama hat off for a second. I'll say Ohio State because they're really good too. But if you talk to a kid and say, okay, they'll pay you, I don't know, $60,000 a year. You're here 3 years, so it's $180,000. We're going to develop you and get you drafted in the first round, and you're going to make $1 million. What would you rather do? Because they're not developing you over there. And we're, oh, by the way, probably going to play in the college football playoffs, so you got a chance to get a ring and millions of dollars down the road. Are you going to risk that on somebody telling you, I'll give you $180,000 and a chance to play right away, but they're going to win 6 games? And so I know for a fact, I talked to some coaches that said, we now evaluate and recruit differently. So they're looking for that kid that left high school 3 times to transfer to another high school to find a better spot for himself. They don't want that kid.
Right.
Because obviously the history is he'll come here, he doesn't get instant gratification, he's going somewhere else.
Right.
So they're looking at that. They're also looking at kids that genuinely want to come in and be developed, not just promised a starting job. Like, if I need to promise you a starting job, then how competitive are you?
Right.
And then, kids need to have people around them to say, I don't care what he said. Once you sign, you're there for a year.
Mhm.
He can say, you're my starting running back. You come in and all of a sudden you're like, 5th on the depth chart. Yeah, you are. What are you going to do?
Earn your way to number
Earn your
one.
way to number one.
Yeah.
But you can't leave, so you got to stick it out for a year. I just hate kids not having to stick it out. I hate that.
Mhm.
Tubby Smith, the basketball coach, won national championships in Kentucky, and then he didn't for a couple of years, so the Kentucky fans thought this isn't good enough, and they had to get rid of him. But he talks about when he went to college, he didn't like it right away. It was tough. It was difficult. So he called his dad and said, I don't like it here. And his dad said, well, I'm sorry about that. You're not coming home. So deal with it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Talk to you next week. And he said, it was the greatest thing my dad ever did for me because it made me stick it out.
Grow up.
Right. There's
And-
too much bailing out
Yeah.
all overall. Yeah.
And people are so critical. When Mac Jones went to Alabama, he was committed to Kentucky. And Alabama had signed Jalen Hurts and Tua, and they were there. And then Mac changed and went to Alabama. And fans are like, you're going to just go there and sit for 4 years. What are you doing?
Yeah.
The Kentucky fans were all over. Good luck with that. And he just waited. He sat, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he got his chance. And he went in the first round, starting in the NFL now. And I think there's something to be said. And there's a lot of kids that have done just that. And
A la Kyler Murray. I mean, he
Yeah.
waited behind, what's his name? Over at Oklahoma.
Baker.
2 years.
Yeah.
Baker
Yeah.
Mayfield, yeah.
yeah,
Baker was on the 7th year.
Yeah, well.
7-year plan.
Who's he playing for now? Baker?
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, there you go.
that he's not going to try to be Tom Brady. I'm like, that's good. That's good. Because you're not.
One of the smartest things you've ever
Yeah,
said.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Say a lot of
Hey,
them.
Baker, stand up.
Well, and the whole college say we all love college football, and
Yeah.
typically college game days on. It hasn't started yet, obviously this year when we're here, and there's a lot going on in that whole environment. And how do you see it shaking out at the end of the day? I mean, what's going to be left standing?
Well, I think, I know for a fact, the SEC, when they invited Oklahoma and Texas to come, their play was Oklahoma and Texas, Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan. They were trying to get all of them to come down. And then what they were going to say to the rest of the college football world is, we're going to create our own entity here. We're going to crown our own national champion. And hey, Notre Dame, if you want to be a part of it, better come on. USC, if you want to be a part of it, better get in now. And that was their play. And I still think that's where we're eventually going to wind up is like a north-south kind of
Super
thing.
conferences.
Yeah. And then they're going to play each other. And then you start, some people are like, okay, well, that's horrible for the, what if Texas Tech doesn't get in that, or what if SMU doesn't get in that? My thing is that's better for you because SMU, you're never going to win a national championship. I mean, you're just not. TCU, you had the greatest year ever last year, and you get there and you find out we aren't close to good enough.
Right.
So if you have a super conference national champion, and then you have whatever we call the next thing national champion.
NIT.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is. My argument to people is always, have you ever watched a Division II national championship football game? Well, whoever wins, do they just walk off the field and go, yeah, but we're only Division II? Now, they're going nuts like everybody else. So if you put people in the right spots and they win because they're competing against people on a level playing field, that's going to mean as much to them as a national championship does to Georgia or Ohio State or anybody else.
And their fans.
And their fans,
Yeah.
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 They don't care that they didn't beat
Frisco's
Alabama.
nuts for that national
Oh my
championship.
gosh! Yeah, yeah. North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Those people.
You always know, oh, yeah, because North Dakota State, you see all the North Dakota State fans all of a sudden.
Yes.
Like, oh, it must be the national championship game for them.
Yeah, and we had a day a few years ago. It was like 29 degrees.
Yeah.
And I was at the mall in Frisco, and all these North Dakota State fans, because it's got the green and gold. They're all in shorts and t-shirts. I'm like, I talked to a guy. I said, "Man, you're a tougher guy than me because this is balmy down here, man." He said, "We're good with this."
Yeah.
He said, "We're used to like 1."
Yeah.
He said, "It's 27 today." He said, "We're good."
Mm.
Okay.
Well, it's been interesting to watch it all, and you never know from day to day. You know what's the next domino to fall in this. Like you said, Florida State, Clemson. I expect those two teams of everybody that's left that has not moved to be the next two that move somewhere.
Yeah, I think Florida State, Clemson, I think Virginia, and North Carolina. I mean, those 4 are definitely getting out. I mean, any thought of the ACC hanging on as a super conference? I don't see
The
it.
level of competition is not going to be there.
No.
Yeah.
But then, when basketball season rolls around, then it's screwed up because you love
about
seeing
Duke?
Duke
Yeah.
and Carolina and those teams play, and then if they're not in the same so that's where it really gets screwed up, and then it gets screwed up for all the Olympic type sport teams. For a gymnastics team to be in a conference where you're on this coast, you got to go play a team on this coast that's in your conference. Well, that's not. Number one, it's not good for those kids, but I don't know how those sports are going to be able to sustain the travel cost of doing that. Football can do it easily.
Well,
But I've also heard that maybe this is just a football only
Right, I hope so.
type super conferences, and all the other sports.
Well, that'd be confusing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Football's the sport
I
for all the
understand.
colleges. I mean,
Can you
literally do whatever you want to when it comes to football and keep all the other sports. Because like you said, the Duke and North Carolina games and all, and Michigan, Ohio State basketball games, all those types of sports and so forth. So, maybe it will. It ends up being just a football only type scenario, and then it's just like, have at it. Do what you got to do. I mean, NIL's going to kill programs, and the NIL's going to make, some programs that were not quite there better, and then it's just going to make the best even that much
Right.
better.
And then
Dominate more.
the baseball program in the SEC would be
Yeah.
really good.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's another, yeah.
Yeah.
we skipped on something we didn't skip. I had a question for you because we talked about all these kids that go for a year and then they get their NIL money and then they leave. Are they required to give that back? Like Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State, got $1 million.
Up front.
Depends
Yeah,
on the
I
contract.
think.
Yeah.
Depends on the contract.
Yeah, I think.
And like you
if I'm
said,
not mistaken, I think
people
they
are
did.
getting more savvy now to say, okay, I promise you those guys that gave money at A&M, they're more savvy now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that guy that gave Quinn Ewers money.
Yeah. So I think more safeguards are being put into those things now. You hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so. And I'd be pissed if it was my money that just walked, out the door.
I'm looking forward to seeing this Jimbo Fisher situation.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch because Petrino's never going to back down. He's not that kind of guy. And
I think he's a better offensive mind than Fisher ever was.
I agree with that. Everybody for years has called Jimbo like a quarterback guru. It's like, why? Because you had Jameis Winston on your team for a
2
couple
years.
years.
Yeah, a couple years. That was it. That was his kid. That was it.
Yeah, but it's not like he developed. I mean, because Jameis got in the NFL and he didn't have the skills to be an NFL starting quarterback. I mean, like the technical skills. Didn't know how to read defenses. His footwork was poor. Jimbo hasn't really ever developed anybody. Petrino has. And if they can balance that, they've probably got something down there. But
It'll be interesting.
Well, that's one of the things that I want to also ask you about because the era of private coaches has become bigger and bigger and bigger. Programs, at least at the high school level, starting at high school, because we're most interested in that, they don't necessarily have the coaching staff and the ability to really coach kids in specific positions at a very high level. And so they're like, okay, well, if you want to improve more than what we can give you, you've got to go to an outside coach. Has that been evolving? Have you seen much changes in that, or where do you see that going?
Yeah, I think most of the really good teams have, and most of the really good players. I mean, you look at any of these receivers, particularly kids that come out of Texas, and in Dallas-Fort Worth, really specifically. So Mergen Hooks, who used to be, look this guy up. He was one of the best receivers in BYU history, and this guy, he is a guru of receiver. He develops these kids, and his guys, now when they go to college, and my son trained under him too, so I got to go and watch, and I mean, you got all these kids that are like 5-star there, and that kid's going to Michigan, and the footwork is unbelievable. I mean, he was the first guy that you know, and even high school coaches are like, no, when you run a slant route, I want you to put your foot in the ground and lean on that outside and then go here. And then Mergen Hooks is like, no, you're not fast enough to do that. I want you hitting on this foot, and this foot doesn't plant and you lean into it and push off of it. Once this foot hits the ground, this foot's over here, I can make you a little faster just in the way I can teach you to run routes. And it's the same. I mean, you look at, there's guys out there that are coaching defensive linemen, and I think that's what's going to happen to some of these coaches that are getting out of the business, is they're going to go and specialize and teach kids. But I think it's a huge advantage for coaches. It's a huge advantage for Lee, because the UIL doesn't allow coaches to work with kids to the extent that they need to in the off season. 7-on-7 is a great. That's the most moronic thing ever. I mean, like, no one could ever explain that to me from the UIL standpoint about, we don't want coaches working with them in the summer because kids will feel like then they get coached year round. What? That's the stupidest thing ever. You want coaches. And the UIL complains about all these street agents in 7-on-7 and how it's becoming like basketball.
They made this monster.
You made it because you didn't allow coaches to coach. So you got all these guys in there that have agendas. They're coaching these kids now.
Well, we coached the Allen team this year.
Well, I mean, you guys, I'm not saying that. But, I mean, there's guys out there.
Boy, let me tell you, we taught them a lot.
No, I absolutely. If they win
Was that the lack of success?
Or they taught us a lot, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great for us, but because you can just look, because we went, I don't know how many we played in, 5 or 6, and you could just look at the teams, and you can see those people, you know, and honestly, very honestly, there's a lot of coaches that are coaching their kids.
Yeah.
Because you see them too, and you recognize them, and you know they're not supposed to have any interaction at all, but that is not the case.
Right.
Never. It's all,
Yeah, it's, you know.
People are never going to follow the rules.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When they're not being monitored, they're not going to follow the rules. And they know that, and so they get away with it. Yeah.
Well, especially when they're overly restrictive like that. And it just opens up the whole market for the street agents, the personal coaches.
That begs the question, you know, the UIL, I understand the purpose of their organization and so forth, but, you know, they also have got, as you will know, they've got to, our restrictions over the summertime compared to any other state, you know, when we went to Arkansas, you know, those kids, the coaches, I mean, they have their coaches, they are able to use
They stood
equipment.
stood right behind him, telling him who to throw to.
Exactly. And, you know, it's just one of those deals. It's like, it always, in my opinion, it you know, coaches should be more involved during the off seasons and summertime programs and give these kids, you know, access to the facilities and so forth. And, you know, they do PC, that kind of thing, but, you know, it just, because of what they're doing now, obviously, like you said, now they're involved with people that street agents that, and wait till like you said, wait till the NIL does hit the football, football level. Holy cow, it's going to, UIL is not going to know what the heck to do.
Well, there's all sorts of ulterior motives, on these people that aren't a part of the program, restricted by the program, and you're opening it up to that. So it's an exposure that I don't think is healthy for the programs and the kids and the coaches, to be honest, as well. And that's another reason to open it up. So UIL, get your stuff together.
Well, and it's going to wind up with skill position kids, because you've got all these, 7-on-7, I think they intended it where you played with your team and your kids and you develop, things over the summer playing together. Well, now you've got all these specialty 7-on-7s that are going all over the country playing in tournaments. I think at some point you're going to get kids, kind of like you've seen in college now. Oh, I'm not going to play in the bowl game because I don't want to get hurt.
Right.
Well, there's going to be a receiver that says, you know what, I'm just going to play with my 7-on-7 team and I'm going to skip this year because I don't want to get hurt. But obviously, colleges know I'm elite, so I'm going to get a scholarship offer and I'm going to go play somewhere. And then it's going to be a corner, and then all of a sudden it's a quarterback, and you're going to, it's like people empower UIL, and look, I love the UIL with a lot of things, and I think they need to be there, but the UIL and the NCAA, it's like some of the things that they put in place, they just do it with nobody sitting around tables like we are here to say, tell me why this is bad.
Yeah, right.
And because if you did, you'd have 5 people saying, well, here's what may happen in the future if we do
unintended consequences, et cetera, if you don't game it out.
Yes. They don't have those conversations. So you get down the road and it's like, okay, we didn't intend that. And we didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah, and those same players that will just play the 7-on-7, they'll have some media person filming the whole thing and sending that information off to scouts and stuff.
Absolutely. So I think, it's sad, we all love it. We all love football. I love college. I don't love where college football is going, but at the end of the day, I'll spend my whole Saturday, traveling to and watching at home. And it's my son's in it. So I love it. And so whatever it becomes, I'm probably still going to love it.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard when your team is Kansas State.
Yeah.
And you're excited about your team, and a kid that was a 3-star, whatever that means, coming out, and Kansas State developed them. And before his senior year, he's leaving Kansas State and going to play for Michigan. That's heartbreaking for fans that invest so much in their teams. It's like, well, wait a minute, that's our guy. We developed him.
Right. It used to be about the family loyalty, and now it's about the dollars.
100%.
Well, and I think you see that right now, anyways. You see that more. College basketball to me is really like that. It is incredible.
You're just like touching base on the college scene, and then boom, you're pro.
Yeah,
if you
not only can they leave after their freshman year to go to the NBA if they're that good, but there are so many in the transfer portal.
Creates chaos.
It does. You don't know your team from year to year. You 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and I know times change. You freshman on, God, he's great as a freshman. I can't wait to see him as a senior, and you would see him.
As a senior.
And it was just awesome to watch. And now, like I asked Lee the other day, I said, "Can I get a roster, please?" I said because not only do you have graduation and you have new people moving in, but so many people moved out and you don't even hear about them all.
Right.
Yeah.
And
not everybody paints their house.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a quarterback that was a freshman last year that I was looking forward to coming up, and now he's at Van Alstyne. And I just found out, and you're like, what's going on? And why does that happen? And
well, can we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is your podcast. Yeah.
Let's.
And I'll make some people mad with this, but
I love it. Controversy.
But here's my, I hear from people all the time, when are we going to get back to being Allen? And there's reasons why it's not it's Allen, but it's not. You had Kyler Murray, he was a generational talent. And I'm not going to say all the success was Kyler Murray because it wasn't.
Mhm.
But when you have, you had Gamble here, then you had Morris here, and now you have Lee here. You have that. Not just the head coach turnover, but it's all those assistant coaches
Right.
turnover.
Positions. Yeah.
That's not stable. And then I had 2 weeks ago, I had a mom that I did not know from Adam. We just started talking. We were in an event together with some other Allen people. And they're one of the people that left. And I'm like, those people really, I think, so damaging to kids. Like, stop doing that with your kids. Let them be high school kids that develop relationships. But anyway, we started talking about it. She said they left because they said this place is so negative. I said, no, it's not. I started to make the argument, even though I'm not that much in disagreement with her. I started to make the argument like I was.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, hey, you just go to social media on Saturday morning. She's like, I don't want my kid having, she's like, I want to play somewhere where people are behind the team. And that's my thing here is you guys, this means a lot to you. You guys are behind the team. You're doing this. This is a great, I've said it before. And there's a lot of people in Allen who are, man, they're ride or die with the Allen Eagles, and that's awesome. And I didn't go here, but I'm the same way now. I've been doing things with Allen for years, so I'm that guy now. So to a fault, I'll stand behind him to a fault. And people get upset with me on Twitter, and I get it, and I should just stop, right? Every year I think, I'm not going to do that, and I do. And I go, okay, well, somebody needs to take that away. But my thing is, if these are your guys, they need to be your guys. And we got too many people, and they're like, well, they're my guys if we're winning district. Mm-hmm. If we go 7-4, I didn't sign up for that. This is where I lose my mind on people, is on Saturday morning, people say, that's unacceptable. Like, unacceptable to who?
I wonder what Facebook page that's coming off of.
Well, right. I mean, but you have people, and some of those people saying it played here.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not unacceptable for anybody. The Kansas City Chiefs will lose games this year. Alabama, well, hopefully we don't, but we have the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Georgia, please God, they may lose some games this year. But, everybody, sports is cyclical anyway. South Lake had a really rough patch there. When Hal Wasson was there. So Hal doesn't know how to coach. Hal won a state championship. He knows how to coach. They just had a rough patch. Highland Park, 2 years in a row, I had them playing Aledo in the Tom Landry Classic. They got throttled 2 years in a row. 43-3, I think it was 1 year. They got throttled. And so a lot of it is a product of your talent. A lot of it's a product of the stability in your program. And if anybody listened last week when you guys talked to Lee, I don't know how you can't get behind the guy.
Oh, no.
He's trying to come in here and do the right things. He's trying to come in here and reconnect into the middle schools. He's trying to teach kids this is the Allen way. We had the middle school kids sign a contract. All those things he's trying to do, I think if you'll just let him do it. But I think the community needs, I spoke at a football banquet here several years ago when everybody's riding high, and I said, don't screw it up. Don't get complacent to the point where, all right, we'll show up, we'll come to game 1 or 2, and we'll take a break, and we'll show back up when the playoffs start. Like, if you enjoy high school football, come to every game. You could get hit. You could be in a car wreck tomorrow, and that's the last game you ever saw. Come out to the stadium every Friday night. Get behind your team. That's your part. Everybody, that motto in New England, the Patriots, Bill Belichick's got that motto of do your job. Well, the student section's got a job to do. They're the greatest.
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Student section is awesome. But my thing to them is, come out to that game against DeSoto, and then come out against C.E. King, because we don't know how great this iteration of the student section is. Come out and be awesome like you always are.
Right.
It makes a difference. Fans, come out and do your job. And then the coaches have to do their job, the players have to do their job. Everybody's got a job to do, but that's when it's really fun, is when everybody feels like, hey, I'm a part of this.
Make it bigger.
Make it bigger and stop being a part of it, some people, when they had a lot more fans after the Arlington Martin game last year than they did after the Bosco game. And that's ridiculous. If you're one of those people, you need a reevaluation of your life to say, why do I do that? Because it's like election night. Everybody loses their mind, and then 3 weeks later they realize, nothing's really changed for me. Well, it's the same thing here. I mean, after the Bosco game, people lost their mind. And then by Wednesday, it's like, well, I still have my house, still have my job, and kids still love me.
And 6 weeks later, when they're 6-1,
Yeah,
everything's fine.
Yeah, on Facebook, they were advertising season tickets still available.
Yeah.
Just this last week.
Right.
People dropping season tickets left and right. Now, could be legit, moving or this and the other, but we've been sold out of season tickets forever, for several years.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the sky's falling. We're not doing as well.
yeah.
Well, it shakes out the weekends, because we've been around before Kyler Murray showed up, and it was almost like a different community, and then everybody got drunk on the success and just the absolute domination of not only Kyler, but so many receivers. The defenses we had were, oh God, amazing.
Yeah.
And so that was an unusual run. But you shake out the weekends when all of a sudden we face adversity. That's the time that we need people to be the most committed to the family and to the community. And that's what we try and show that as an example, and we try and build that. I think Lee is the perfect coach for our community at this time. That's why I want to support him and love him so much,
The timing, Kyler Murray was not only the best thing that ever happened to this program, but happened to this program.
Bingo.
We've said that for years.
And it was, that in the building of the stadium, again, best thing that ever happened to this program, and could be the worst thing that ever happened to this program, because people's first experience of Allen football was the new stadium and Kyler Murray as our quarterback. And again, it wasn't all just Kyler, but Kyler was the quarterback. He was the highlight of the team.
He was the X factor.
Even though
sure.
we had some of those teams, defensive, some of the greatest teams.
Bad dudes.
Yeah, and some of those were greatest teams in Texas high school football history. But you got people, and yes, people move and so forth, but, the demographics in this town is changing. We all know that. They're changing a lot. But, yeah, there are fans. My wife gets on my butt because I start wanting to reply.
Yeah.
And I'm
calling them out.
A lot of y'all know I don't hold back when I reply. Mark on Twitter, hey, all of a sudden he'll tag me on a conversation that
Needs something to be said. No,
The pit bull.
he doesn't want to say it, so all of a sudden he'll tag me on Twitter. I'm like, here's my job. I go read the
He's doing his job.
No filter, Nolan.
That's your job.
and you just sit there and just go, come on.
You have a question, sir?
The whole problem is if this city had 16,000, 18,000 more people like us, everything would be okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's
That was egotistical.
No, those fans.
I'll
need
leave
to come-
now.
Those fans need to come on Friday at night to our tailgate, and just start getting involved.
And everybody's different, and that's one thing we've all had to realize, and I think we all realize, even amongst the six of us, Dad's not here today, each one of us is different. We don't do the same. We don't do things the same way you do.
Do-do. Some people just do-do.
Yeah, but
I'm talking about doo-doo.
the passion that we all have for this community, for the sports in this community, is not like everybody else. And so our expectations amongst ourselves, when it relates to all that, is pretty high. And everybody's not like that. And we've said this for years, and James and I, and we're band parents.
Mm-hmm.
It kills me after the halftime show when all the band parents get up and leave.
It's a running joke now.
They're not they're not football fans. They're there for their kids, and I get that.
Yeah.
They're
Or they've got other life complications. I
We got
hear
a
that a lot.
babysitter
Oh,
with
we
the
got,
babies
you
or
know, we
something.
got a 4-year-old that needs to get home and go to sleep because he's got soccer.
Everybody's
in the morning.
in a different situation. I get that, but it does seem that even amongst football parents, that once their child has left the program, Allen football isn't a priority for them, and
Right.
they don't support it like they did when their kid was there.
Right.
Which I get to a degree, but I'm like, if you live in a community,
A one-school town.
support it. You know,
Yeah.
if you like football, you know, be there. It's just amazing.
And they don't like football, they want to promote their child, is what it is.
Well, they like football as long as their child's there. And like you say, that's why they're there. It's amazing. That's what I've noticed. Like, there are some longtime people who love Allen football,
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah.
but that number to me is shrinking.
Dwindling.
And I think the world, just because of the world we live in now, the attention span on stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because I've had a lot of friends that said, we gave up our season tickets. And it's like, wow, you loved it. What happened? You know,
Are you not showing up anymore?
Yeah, what's going on? And again, it's our hobby, and so we are a little different. We do this silly podcast, and we support all these teams, and but we get so much enjoyment out of it. And I get confused sometimes, or I don't know if confused is the right word, but I can't understand why other people don't, because they seem to love it while their kids are there, and it just seems
They
like
sure do
passion.
talk a lot about it on social media.
They do. The passion goes away.
Yeah.
And that's what, to me, has really changed, because, you know, you used to have to go get in line at away games in order to get a good seat. Now you can just walk up 5 minutes before a game and you
Gates
sit
open, you
Yeah.
dash for your seats.
Yeah, you sit wherever you want.
What-
You know, and
Look, branch that out a little bit, because you could take any program, and we've seen it. We've gone to visit. We went over to a Mesquite game and sat in the stands, and that was ugly. The way the fans were towards the coaches, towards the players. Had to have one of the star players, who was a huge defensive guy. He starts getting on the fans. Y'all need to shut up and start supporting, the team. Happens at Allen, happens at every program. I think this infection of negativity and criticism, it's affecting Tasso, the officials organization. They're struggling.
They're struggling to find officials. Yeah.
Right. So we need that young blood. We need positivity, and to try and build people up. Yeah, you're going to complain. You're going to not like some things that the coaches do and some activity on the players' parts, but...
Well, and one of the things I always encourage people to do, and I thank Lee, and I thank him over and over again for allowing us to participate on 7-on-7 this year, because it gave us an opportunity to spend time with those kids. And that's what we're all about as kids. You get to learn a little bit about them, you get to learn names, you get to learn their quirks, their personalities, and that's one of the greatest things about our tailgate, is when those kids come over at 3:30 every Friday afternoon, when they start filing into the field house, they walk right by us.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have many conversations over the years with kids. We've learned a lot. We've laughed a lot with them, and we joke around with them. And that's to me, we were talking, Alan and I were talking yesterday, Raylan Sharp.
Mm-hmm. He still comes by and visits.
Every time he's back
That's
in
awesome.
town, he comes and sees us.
That's a cool thing.
The Green twins will always come and see us. Theo will always come and see us.
Yeah.
And
Jay will.
You're establishing
Come by
those
and see us, yeah.
relationships, and that's what I encourage people to do, is don't just come to the game. Find ways to do something with these kids.
Yeah.
They're not just football players. They have a lot of other stuff going on in their lives. And it's fun to learn about them and their background. General Booty will always be one of our favorites.
Yeah.
And he's a great kid and adult now, but he always comes and says hello, and just learning his story. And that's what I think, people don't take the time to invest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they also, I think if you live in this community, and I live in Frisco, but I think if you live in this community, it's one of the few places, you can live in South Lake and you get it, Highland Park, DeSoto, but if you live in this community, one of the special things that you have at your fingertips is a gathering place on Friday night. And you said it a minute ago, when you said, and you were right about this, you said if everybody else in the town were like your group, it'd be a better place.
I was just joking.
No,
but
I know, but you're not wrong, because I always say, like when I'm talking to teams, when I go talk to teams, I'll say this country would be so much better off if it mirrored a locker room. Because you look at a locker room, different socioeconomics, different religious backgrounds, different ethnicities, but you all come together and pull the same direction for a common goal. We can't do that here. Everybody's pulling away. But if you live in Allen, it's one of those special places where you have at your disposal something really cool that happens every Friday night that you can go and be with people. And so the big sacrifice you're making is 3 hours. So are you going to stay at home and watch something on Netflix that you can do any other time during the week? Or are you going to say, you know what? Yeah, let's get back to being in the fabric of our community before our time here is gone and we don't have the opportunity to do this anymore.
I mean, we moved here 29 years ago, and I spent the night, when the kids were old enough, I spent the night, overnight, at the athletic office.
Camped out. Same here.
3 days I spent
Yeah.
camped out.
Yeah.
Wow.
For season tickets, to get actual season tickets. And finally got them, and my 4 seats were right next to the band. Couldn't hear a damn thing throughout the whole game.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
the
were
thing
part
about
of the
it-
family. You
but
had
that's
to do
just
that to get entrance. Yeah.
There were I wasn't the only one camping out.
That's right.
I didn't get
There
to
was
sit
a
on the
ton of
east
people
side.
camping. And we had this we called the double wide. We were spending $750,000 to $1 million a year bringing in temporary bleachers,
Yeah.
just so everybody went. And that's what you did. Allen shut down on a Friday night,
Right.
and we sat in this dilapidated football stadium that was
2A.
built in
75, 76.
Yeah, 76. It was back when Al was 2A, and people were complaining that we can't get in there because there's not enough seats. Hence, we decide we're going to be one school town because look at this. This is great. It literally the town shuts down on Friday night. We're all together. We're cheering on our team. Were we good? No. Back then we weren't good. We finally 2008 we
Put it
got
together.
we put it together and won a state championship, and then we finally put this stadium together where everybody and their mom could finally
Right.
come to a game here in Allen, and they did for long. We won 3 state championships. One we were away the whole year, but
Road trip.
Well, and when you talk about game one, I mean, reasons. All right, so you get to come see Allen DeSoto. That's a pretty special thing.
Yeah.
You
We
get
hope.
you get to be in the best high school stadium in the country. There's no arguing that. You get to be with your community. You get to support kids. They're doing so many great things. I'm not even talking about kids I'm talking about kids that are in the band, the drill team, the cheer, that are holding the cameras,
Yeah.
that are running the scoreboard, that are doing all of these things, and you're raising scholarship dollars for kids right here in Allen.
That's right.
That otherwise may not have the ability to do some things. And there's every reason to come and then to continue coming. They're going to have a whiteout out there. They're trying to do, there's a sing-along at the end of the third quarter. They're trying to do things that are entertainment value. And the cost is very low when you look at other things that you could go and do. You go to the movies today and see what that costs.
Yeah.
Versus being able to come here and be entertained and look, there's always a chance Allen could lose any game they play, but
True.
the teams that they're playing, and Allen too, you're seeing football players that are not only going to be soon playing on Saturdays, guys that are playing on Sundays, and then you can say, "Oh, I saw him when he was a high school sophomore," or in this DeSoto, this receiver, I saw him when he was a freshman. One day he's going to be playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars and going to the Pro Bowl, and you can say, "Yeah, I saw a kid as a freshman." The best band in the country is here.
Yeah.
Come see them.
It's a spectacle. It's awesome.
Why would you not? And maybe this is just, maybe somebody hears this out there and says, I'm going to reprioritize and I'm going to get back. These are my guys. And I'm going to get back to just supporting my guys and my community. I'm going to get back to that. But stop moving your kids out of town. We're going to Louisville because, they're going to be great over there and we're going to win a state championship. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not winning a state championship at Louisville. I'm sorry. That's not happening. They're going to be really good, and then they're going to play DeSoto, or they're going to play Duncanville, and it's over. You're not winning a state championship at Louisville or anywhere else that you're moving your kid to, and, the coaches don't pay enough attention to them. Oh, my gosh. Just let your kids be a kid.
Yeah.
And grow up with these kids and play in the same place, and God forbid they don't ever start. Well, nobody promised you that. You're not owed that. And these coaches get fired because they don't win enough. So these parents that are like, well, my kid's definitely the best right guard, and they just don't play him. Why would they do that?
170 pounds.
Yeah, why would they do that? Why would they? Yeah, he's definitely the best, but we're not going to play him.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Stop doing this. Just keep your kid here, support your community, and stop moving your kids around to try to find a better thing, because you're teaching them bad. We talked about what the NIL's done with college and all the bad things it does. Yeah. You're doing it as a parent when you move your kid around and move out of here.
Yep. You're moving them away from their friends.
Yes, you're moving away from your
who
friends.
they've grown up with.
And if it's your next door neighbor that's doing it, it's you talking about do your job. Go tell them how embarrassing that is, and talk them out of doing that. It's a dumb move. It's a really dumb move, and it's showing your kid, hey, I don't believe in you enough to stay here, but let's move you somewhere where they're not, where the talent level's not good enough, and you can start there. What are you saying to your kid?
You've always started them on the road to the portal and everything else as they go up further in school.
Yes. Yeah. And I worry about when a kid is 24 years old and he's up for a promotion.
There you go.
And he doesn't get it and he can't handle it because
He quits.
Quits and goes where he thinks the grass is greener.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the same grass. It's just a different field.
Yes. Everybody's got their pile of poop in their yard. And sometimes you can't see it so you step in it. So you go over the fence and you're like, I'm going over here because it's great over here. Oh, they got poop over here too? Well,
you're throwing it over.
I'm using this one.
Everywhere.
Mark,
on this podcast.
minute 45, mark that. Well, so for a community, you see certain indications of how healthy the involvement and so on with the community is. The golf tournaments that touchdown clubs put on, and the turnout for that's one of the indications. The turnout for the game. Which program was it? It was maybe a 5A, maybe it was a 6A program. They had like 134 people show up for the golf tournament, and they're just this little school, and it's like twice as much as we have.
Well, and I mean, let's throw
Alan's
out
big.
the entire. That was also the same weekend as the Byron Nelson that was just up the street.
Yeah.
And
We could have played there.
well,
Yeah. Pro-Am. Now on
amount of
tee
money.
number 1.
And this is what that was also the fourth rescheduled.
Well,
Alternate.
the one in the spring was scheduled. The one in the fall was the one that had been rescheduled.
Right.
For many reasons. But the spring one, I mean, they weren't even able to field, 18 teams. They didn't have a shotgun start because they didn't have enough teams. So the support is definitely waned, and you wonder, what's it going to take to get it back? You hope it's not a 14-1, 15-1 season. You hope it's just people being dedicated to their kids and the kids of the school and just the community as a whole. It's definitely, times change. And like you say, everybody goes through a lull, and maybe some continuity with this coach, and he's got a whole new coaching staff. We've got a lot of new coaches this year.
Yeah.
His guys,
right.
that he's been able to bring in, and so it goes back to what can they put together, and we'll see what they can do. They're playing some talented teams, and it's going to be challenging for them.
It is.
And he even admits it last week. Yeah.
Well, and as a parent, when your kid is a father one day, did 14-1 make him a better father, or playing for somebody like Lee, who's doing a lot of the things
Character
outside
development,
of the football
yeah.
field, the character development, and that has to mean something. And so these parents are just moving here and there because they can go play. You're forgetting all those parts of it. The being with your friends and developing lifetime bonds. I mean, I'm still friends with people that I went to high school with. I'm sure you guys are too.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said for that. That's not easy. Those are bonds and memories that are worth so much.
Mm-hmm.
But again, people make decisions on the spur of the moment about, well, that coach doesn't like my son. What if that's true? Guess what? He'll work for somebody one day that doesn't really like him either.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So stop moving, and you can't just quit
Stop
his
trying
job
to
at that
protect your
point.
kids and let them
Yeah.
experience life.
And I just hope, just my message to the Allen community is do your job. Your job's to come out and support. If you want to complain about a coaching decision or the way a player plays, do it in your house. Do it at your buddy's house. Don't put it out there on social media where kids can see it. I say that all the time. That's not good for kids. And there are people like, oh, kids don't look like they do. They do. They see it. They hear it.
They do.
They do. And when you hear and it piles up, and they're not dumb. These kids aren't dumb. It's like, okay, so every time we lose, we suck. But when we win, we're great. Stop having kids feel that way. Ride or die. There are guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about you guys. Y'all are here. Y'all are out there earlier. Y'all get to the stadium earlier than I do at the Landry Classic, and I get there early. And
7 a.m., bro.
Breakfast
7
tacos.
a.m.
Come get some breakfast.
Breakfast tacos.
And this is, and I don't know what the future holds, but this is probably the last one too. So that's another reason to come out. If you've come out before and said, this is probably it. So anyway, it's going to be fun, and I so appreciate you guys for what you do.
We appreciate you what you do.
I think
Yeah.
I think you're the part of the fabric of this, and it's special. It means something to me. It means a lot to me. And the kids and the coaches and the community is very blessed to have you guys do what you do. So
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
and you're all good people. I mean,
Thanks.
I've gotten to be with you guys for a number of years, and you're good people.
Well,
You're good people.
So by spending time with each other, you learn a lot. But no, we appreciate you, and even if there's not a classic next year, we want you back. This is one of our favorites.
I appreciate it.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask you now. We'll talk off there in a minute. Week 2, Alabama, Texas. Who's going to win?
Oh, you know what he's going to say. Come on.
Roll Tide,
Roll
baby.
Tide.
But now, is he being objective or is he being a fan?
Wait. Roll Tide RT retread. What? Yeah.
Roll Tide. We got to figure out quarterback, but we're getting there. Yeah.
We got our quarterback, baby.
We'll see.
See if we can keep him
This
up.
guy's a true fan. He follows them even when they're crappy.
He absolutely is.
We got the quarterback and running back.
He is. You know,
I've heard this every year.
That's
I know,
such
it's fun.
a
It's fun
cool
when it's
experience to go to an Arkansas game. I've gone for years. It's an easy trip to go watch Alabama play, and just love the stadium and how they reconfigured it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the tradition, the calling the hogs, and all
Mm-hmm.
that. And one of the coolest things is it's been several weeks ago, I was just searching for something to watch on a Sunday afternoon. And they had the replay of, it was an Arkansas-Texas game, and it was Keith Jackson.
Oh,
Doing
I love
the game.
Keith Jackson.
I wanted
oh
that
my
one.
God.
And you're just like, God, to sit, the Chris Schenkels of the world and Chris Jackson, and Keith Jackson, man, it doesn't get any better than listening to that.
That's royalty.
And, to hear, whoa, Nelly, the big hogs up front,
Now from Alabama.
Alabama Crimson Tide. And it's just, and I miss Brent Musburger.
I got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, me too.
Remember Sundays, and Brent, you are looking live at the
Yep.
Pontiac Silverdome, and we didn't have all the access to games then.
Yeah.
And to see just 5 seconds of Billy Sims warming up before a Detroit Lions game, and now you're looking live at Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, and man, it was so great then because we had to take advantage because we didn't have
Yeah.
We
every
didn't
game
have
at our,
the ESPN Plus.
we didn't have all that.
Yeah.
So Anyway.
I'm just disappointed you didn't pull up a podcast to watch.
Well, I listened to all, I even called in last year when y'all had Robin.
You did? Yeah, you were on our list.
And I made people mad that day. I ripped into the community.
Sweet.
So,
Consistency is important.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, we rip them too. I mean, we rip the community as well too. But I'll say this. I'll just reiterate what Chris said. If you're going to pick a game this year to come to, make it the Tom Landry Classic.
Right.
I mean, because every dollar spent on those tickets goes to
Scholarships.
scholarships and kids and so forth. It don't buy it off the resale. Season
Yes.
ticket holders that don't go.
For 1 week, don't do that.
Just for
Yeah.
1 week.
Yeah.
Put kids first for 1 week.
Well, we appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate you guys.
You know, we look forward to this every year, and we look forward to 2 weeks. On Friday, we see you at the Landry. You always stop by and say hello.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm cooking breakfast.
After your 3 hours of sleep?
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you get all the help you needed? I know you were looking for some help.
I did.
Okay.
I did. You know what's cool is I was looking for I needed one more position, and I got a kid that I used to coach in Little League basketball, and he said, "Hey, coach, I'd love to come and do that."
Wow.
That was just the coolest thing. It made my week.
Out of the blue. That's cool.
Relationships.
Relationships.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
Awesome.
that's a cool thing, and I'm inviting Mickey Delamar back. He was the athletic director at Mesquite ISD, and he
My
helped
old
me
coach in high
get that
school.
started.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get Mickey to come back out, and it's just, I love everything about doing this, and I love seeing you guys out there and stopping by to visit with you guys, and just knowing you're out there and how much you care. There you go. Mickey was the best. When I wanted to start the Landry Classic, I started it in Mesquite. And
Yeah.
Mickey, I had no idea what I was doing, right? And thank God for Mickey, because we wouldn't be sitting here 25 years later if he hadn't said, okay, well, you don't want to do that. You kind of want to do this. And it's so many great memories of those early days, and him helping us get started. He's such a good human being. And,
Yep.
And
Still kicking it.
You love that, yeah.
Living out in East Texas and bass fishing.
Bass
There you go.
Yeah. So just a great guy.
I hope to see him next week.
Yeah, some
Hope
of
he
our
can
best friends are out in East Texas bass fishing.
So Landry, DeSoto, and Allen, 7 o'clock on the 25th, Friday night. First game of the year. On the 26th, you have Lovejoy and College Station, same time, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, yeah.
Be another great game.
That'd be awesome.
It will be. It'll be fun to watch too. You got 4 teams, really good teams playing this year. Come see when you can. Other than that, we'll be there 7 o'clock Friday morning, the 25th. Set up tailgating.
Yeah.
Come by and see us. We'll have food all day long. We'd love to get your feedback and talk to you and just see what we can do. Kris will be there. We'll have lots of people stopping by that day. So feel free to come say hello. So we will not have a podcast next week.
Right.
We are going to be out, and so we will talk to you 2 weeks from today after the Landry. We'll have
And this is the year we're going to get Obato and the band to play Freebird one of these days.
my son, who was in the band many years ago, found the Freebird stand
The
to
arrangement?
music.
Oh,
He's got it. And
Oh,
so
really?
I told Phil we expect it to pop up.
Well, there's not a better dude than that guy either.
Yeah.
Philip
Philip Obato.
He's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Way to go.
Awesome guy.
We like him. So
I love the band.
well, you can plug your ears.
You're too young, that's what it is. You're the youngest one.
Yeah, exactly. So
With
folks,
the most hair.
Chris, thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, and until next time, it's over, and we are out.